few years ago, if you had looked at my life from the outside, you probably would have thought everything was absolutely fine. I had a job, a home, a family, responsibilities. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I showed up where I was supposed to show up. I checked all the damn boxes, right? But what people didn't see was that I was going into work early, staying as late as possible, and taking the long way home. Not because I love my job, because somewhere along the way I had stopped loving my life. The funny thing is, I didn't realize it right away. There wasn't a dramatic moment where everything fell apart. It happened slowly, so slowly that I barely even noticed. The woman I used to be, the one who sang in the car, danced in the kitchen, laughed easily, dreamed about the future, she started disappearing. The color faded from my life. The music freaking died. The laughter, it was still there, but it sounded brittle and forced. I became robotic. Wake up, go to work, take care of everyone else. Repeat, but it sounds familiar, right? I wasn't living anymore. I was surviving. And survival, that's a strange thing. You can survive for years without realizing how unhappy you are. You get so used to carrying the weight that it starts to feel normal. You stop asking yourself what you want, right? You stop dreaming. You stop imagining anything different. You simply endure. The only thing I truly looked forward to during those drives home was calling my sister. Every day I would pick up the phone and talk to her. Every day. Looking back now, I think that those conversations kept me from drifting too far away from reality. They remind me that there was still life outside of responsibilities. And that is what we are talking about today. If you're new here, guys, I'm Ara, and I help women build quiet confidence so they can go after the life they truly want. Welcome. I am so glad you're here. Okay, so let's get into it. Back to what I said a few seconds ago. There is still life outside of responsibilities. There's still laughter. There's still connection. There's still possibility. And eventually, I reached a point in my life where I knew something had to change. Not because I had all the answers, not even because I suddenly became brave. Ooh, absolutely not. But because I couldn't keep living the way I was living. One of the best decisions I have ever made was finding a therapist. It's true. Although, honestly, she became so much more than that. She became a guide, a coach. Yeah, she really did. Someone who challenged me in ways I never even expected. And one day, she gave me an assignment that completely changed my life. She told me that I needed to forgive myself. I remember thinking, for what? But deep down, I already knew that answer. You probably do too. I needed to forgive myself for waiting so long. I needed to forgive myself for losing myself. And most painfully, I needed to forgive myself for the things that I believed my choices had cost my children. That was the hardest conversation I have ever had in my entire life. And as a mother, my greatest regrets were never about me, they were about my kids. I started seeing things differently. I saw how my daughter struggled. I saw how my son carried guilt for things that weren't even his fault. That's hard to sit with. And I began wondering if I should have done things differently, if I should have seen things sooner, right? If I should have left sooner. Those thoughts, they broke me for a while because if you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. You can carry your own pain, right? But watching your children carry pain, whew, that's a whole different kind of heartbreak. It is. For a long time, I punished myself with those thoughts. I mean, they ruminated over and over again, over and over again. But eventually, I realized something. I cannot change yesterday. I can't. I cannot rewrite the past. I've tried, doesn't work. I cannot go back and make different decisions. The only thing that I can do is show up differently today. So, just a couple nights ago, I actually called my son, not to talk about baseball, which is his love and passion, but not to talk about money, which he was having questions about, and not to solve a problem. I simply called him to tell him how proud I am of him, how proud I am of the man he has become. Because the guilt that I carry, it doesn't heal the past. But love does. It can. Encouragement does. Oh, absolutely. Presence does. And that's where forgiveness began for me. It's not forgetting. It's not pretending. Tried that, failed at that. Forgiveness, the kind that allows you to stop serving a life sentence for mistakes you can no longer change. So, I want to talk about when I moved into my own apartment, and I will never, ever forget the first morning that I woke up there. Here, actually, there was no dramatic breakthrough, no movie moment, no fireworks. It was just quiet. And for the first time in years, breathing felt easier. My apartment wasn't fancy, but it felt like a sanctuary, and it still does. It feels peaceful, safe, and it feels like mine. And in that quiet, I started hearing myself again, the dreams, the hopes, the curiosity, the woman I thought I had lost forever. One of the first things I bought for that apartment, it was bright, colorful curtains and artwork. And I know that sounds kind of silly to some people, but after years of feeling like my life had faded completely to gray, I wanted color everywhere. And somehow, those little things, they mattered. They remind me that I was allowed to create a life that felt good to me. Little by little, I started saying yes to new experiences. One of those experiences was photography. My sister, the same sister who listened to me during all those drives home, suggested I give it a try. She's an incredible photographer, and if I could be a fraction of her, that would be amazing. But now we do kind of weekly challenges together, and it's teaching me something so much bigger. It's teaching me how to notice life, right? When you're looking through a camera lens, even if it's your phone, you're searching for beauty or different. You're paying attention. You're noticing light and shadows, color, details, moments. And I think that's exactly what I had stopped doing in my own life. So that and other things that taught me to see again. Eventually that led me somewhere even scarier. And I started this YouTube channel. Let me tell you something. I was terrified. I had every excuse. I was too old. Yep. No one would care what I had to say. Yep. I'd embarrass myself. Yep. People will judge me. I heard every one of those thoughts in my head over and over. But when I finally recorded my first video and my finger hovered over that publish button for a very long time, but when I finally hit it, something unexpected happened. Oh my gosh, guys, I felt proud. Not because the video was perfect. Trust me, it wasn't even close. And not because thousands of people watched it. No, I think it was 10, and it was probably most of my siblings. I felt proud because I had done something brave, something for myself. And for the first time in a very long time, I'd stopped letting fear make my decisions. And that changed everything. So if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck, I want to share a few things that helped me, and hopefully they'll help you too. And it's not because I have all the answers, I truly don't, but because these things genuinely changed my life. First, keep one promise to yourself every single day. Just one to start. Small promises, they become self-trust, and self-trust, it changes everything. Second, ask for help. I spent years believing I had to figure everything out on my own. But I was wrong, super wrong. Sometimes the strongest thing that you can do is raise your hand and say, I need support. I need help. I need. Third, stop waiting until you feel ready. Most of us spend years waiting for confidence. But confidence, it's not what comes first. Nope. Action comes first. So confidence, it follows. Fourth, create something that belongs entirely to you. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's a journal. I don't know. Maybe it's a vision board or photography. Maybe it's a garden. Could you imagine planting, letting it grow? Maybe it's a business that also grows. Whatever it is, let it be yours. And finally, remember this. It is never, ever, ever too late. I know people say that all the time, but I'm not saying it because it sounds nice. I'm saying it because I've lived it. It is not too late to rebuild. It is not too late to dream. And it is not too late to heal. It's not too late to start over and over and over, and it is not too late to discover who you are. A few years ago, I was taking the long way home because I didn't want to face my own life. Today, I'm building a life I don't want to escape from. And that doesn't mean everything is perfect. Nope, it isn't. But I still have fears, sure. I still make mistakes every day. I still have days where I doubt myself. Yeah, it's a work in progress, right? But my life, it has color again. There's music again. There's dancing again. There's laughter again. There is purpose and there is hope. And if there's one thing that I hope you take away from this story, it's this: you do not need permission to come back to yourself. Not from your family, not from society, not from your past, and certainly not from your mistakes. Because in the end, I didn't need a new life. I didn't. I needed myself back. And a new life came with that. And maybe you do too. So before you go, I want you to think about just one question. What part of yourself have you been missing lately? The dreamer, the adventurer, the artist, the woman who used to laugh more, dance more? Tell me in the comments, okay? Because sometimes the first step toward finding yourself again is simply admitting that you've been lost. And that's okay. And if you're walking that path, you are not alone. I'd love for you to subscribe and continue this journey with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next one.